What up guys, Havoc Trade. So we're going to do a market outlook video here. So looking at GJ, we'll go ahead and just start in the yearly time frame. And I'm not going to take too much time on it, but something I am going to do is just simply mark out our yearly levels here because we are in a very important spot. You see right now we are hanging out at the lows. Please excuse my button pressing. I am using my laptop right now to make this video, and I'm typically on my desktop here. So very important key levels that I just marked out. Obviously we see that price has been in a downtrend, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, right? We did make a lower high, but we ended up maintaining these lows, ultimately maintaining the previous lower high point. So price is potentially giving us some bullish structure, right? Just based off of the yearly time frame. Now when we go ahead and look like in the 6-month time frame, something I could see immediately is like we have a pretty clean trend line set up. Again, bear with me. Buttons are different. Right? Not really liking that trend line, so I'm going to move that to here. I'm going to go ahead and move that to these highs here. That's more appropriate. Right, we see that we have like a trend line break going on, and this is a very clean setup itself. So just based off the half a year time frame, looking at this zone here. Oops. One moment. There we go. So looking at this zone here, my immediate thought process is, okay, we'll probably see bullish pressure pushing up to 195.883. That's a very high probability because from this point, we're either going to see price reject this area and come to the lows, which I don't think is a high probability. Yes, we could possibly come down to 155.910 and then see price continue going to the uptrend. But even that, I'm not seeing that likely. We can see it here in the half year time frame, the 6 months. In other words, that right here at these highs at roughly 329, we have a gap, and then another gap here at 383, roughly 370, and then another one even higher, at 483. So there's a lot of high targets that I'm looking at simply because there's gaps that just have yet to be filled. Right, but for me to go ahead and really start looking for these targets seriously, I really want to see this area broken here, this 188.8. I'm sorry, this 195.83. Right, so as we see prices creeping up to that area, like looking in the monthly time frame, we see that even though there's 11 days left, we're already engulfing the previous monthly candle. Actually, we're engulfing the previous 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Right, in the first month of January, so that's pretty damn good there. Looking in the weekly time frame here, so this is a setup that we actually did catch. I called this setup for free once it actually came about, but we've been looking at it in the private section for about, I'm going to say, gosh, well, I'm not going to try guessing. I can say that we were looking at since roughly around December, November of 2023 is when I called the trade, because as soon as we pulled back down to this area, because we're in the weekly time frame here, we can see here that price had M right here. Right, that price was creating the double top. Right, and as price continued, right, we see price pulled back to the middle of this area. Now I let everyone know as soon as we came down here in December that if price ends up maintaining this area for buys, we're going to go ahead and buy back to this gap here. Now obviously we could take it to the previous high and further, but this gap was just the safe play on my part. And plus this is a pretty big swing already, looking for buys at this area. Granted, I didn't get them exactly where I wanted, but this is what the initial setup I was looking at, looking for buys at this area to fill the gap. And you can see that it took quite some time, but price ended up respecting this area. Go ahead and jump out of replay mode here. Right, perfect failed M setup. Now when we look at the daily time frame based off that buying pressure zone that we identified off the weekly time frame, you can also see that price gave us a pretty decent double bottom here. We have the left side, then we have the right, and price came up and really just ripped up, also with a pretty clean small trend line break here. Right, and where we ended up getting our entry, again, I wanted to get my entry down here. Unfortunately, we missed it. Let me talk about it real quick so you can learn how to get entry here. But see, notice how we came to the middle of the M. Right, we have the left side of the M here. We have the right side of the M here. Then we have the middle here. Notice how we came back to this area of buying pressure. Right, we were either going to maintain this area as support and give a double bottom, which we got, or we were going to see price break under this area and find resistance, which did not happen. Right, price wanted to maintain the buys. And everyone and their mother sees that big double top, and they don't really think about that if price maintains the middle, that it's a fake out. Not a lot of people understand that, but the market, they just know double tops, double bottoms, don't really know what validates some and what invalidates some. That's something that I teach. Anyway, so looking in the 4-hour here, right, we saw that price broke out of this trend line, and we saw that price was really peaking at the high of this range here in the 4-hour. Right, at first we did come up and maintain it as resistance, but very similar to what we found on the weekly time frame is that we have this area of buying pressure right here that was maintained. Right, and that was the 4-hour. When I look at it in the 1-hour here, and I'm so happy that I didn't make this mistake, but we saw that price came to the high of the range. The price was giving like this head and shoulders pattern. We have the left shoulder, right neckline. We came up, we created a head, pretty clean double top, clean neckline, shoulder, but we never broke the neckline. And as soon as I saw price break back above this area, I actually ended up calling buys for the team. A lot of people caught this. A lot of people made money, past challenges, or pulled themselves out of drawdown. Right, but we see that we risked roughly, no, that definitely wasn't our entry, because I know we risked a little bit more, but as soon as we saw price break back above this zone, we ended up getting our entry, roughly about 40 points of risk, right, and then we ended up taking profit at this level right here, right, because we knew that that was our yearly level. And then obviously that was a very clean trade for roughly about a 1 to 8 risk to reward. And then I was able to get another entry here, because if we go back to the 4-hour, so we got the entry here. We were in that trade for a couple days because of the daily time frame. We were in that trade for 1, 2, 3, 4, and it pulled back. Now this is on Sunday here. You see Friday, then boom, Sunday open. Now on Friday we had this doji candle close right here. This very thin one with 2 long wicks on each side. As soon as that doji closed on Friday, I let everyone know that within 2 candles of that doji, we get an engulfing candle to the upside. I'm gonna buy. And that's exactly what we got here in the 4-hour. We see that within 2 candles of the doji, because the doji's here, then 1, 2, the second candle ended up engulfing. As soon as that engulfed, I ended up taking my buy here. Same take profit. Right, I got about 186 points. Oops, come on, let me close that. My apologies here. There we go. So I got about 186 points, and I risked roughly about same thing, about 40 points. So a very clean 1 to 4 RR, and these were very, very clean swing trades. So 350 points and then 186 points. That is a very, very massive trade. Now, where do I see GJ going in the future? Now, obviously, we're at the high of the range here. So there's not any price action I'm really looking at just yet. But if we can get a break above this level, I would love to see simple break, retest, and then I'll buy on this higher low, fill this range back up to this high, and I'd really look to have it potentially swing. I would definitely be open for that. Whoops, did not mean to do that last part. I just simply meant to draw this. Now if we go ahead and look at US30 real quick. It's been a little bit since I've talked about US30. We're at all-time highs right now, and I really do think US30 is going to take quite the tumble. Now, very similar to what we saw on GJ here, like if we look at the daily time frame, and I apologize, it does look a little bit ugly here. Let me just get rid of that trend line. But we see that price was obviously ranging here. When we look at the 4 hour, we can get a little bit of a better picture of what was going on. But obviously, price came here. We created a high of a range here. We came back to the previous higher low point. We then broke above the high of the range, but obviously broke right back under. We pulled back about 50%, came up to the highs, rejected it again, came down to the lows, right? Notice how clean, like obviously with the candles, it doesn't look that clean, but as I'm drawing from higher low to a higher high point, you could definitely see how clean the structure is, because we came back to the middle of this M, maintaining buying pressure. So again, same thing actually with GJ, is I would want to wait for a break and a retest. And obviously if we don't end up maintaining this area as support and getting that retest here, and we're at all-time highs, so there's not really a target to give except the range that it gives. So let's say if it pulls back from right here, your buying take profit is right there. You know what I'm saying? That's if it falls from right there. You're trying to target that previous range. That's really not a lot, 200 points. Not a lot in the retrospect of like price just pushed up this whole range for like 800. What would be a lot more interesting is seeing if price breaks above the high of this range here. And if it doesn't, I would love to see sells back down. That would be phenomenal. But really, same exact setup on GJ. Just to show comparison here. GJ, we can go like look at the 1 hour. No, I guess the 4 hour and daily were really the prime there. Yeah, the daily. So we're either going to break above, get the retest, or price is going to reject the highs and get some major sells. Exact one looking at US30. US30 was just a 4 hour time frame, not daily. Only difference there. But very similar structure. Very, very similar structure. Let me look at one more pair real quick. Let's make John happy today. GBP USD. So I actually do like where GBP USD is. Shout out to John/Chicken in the chat. So we do see that price is trying to give us a shift in structure. It's very, very simple for me. If price can go ahead and maintain this area as a lower high, we will go ahead and sell back down to 1.26145 and then potentially look even lower. This would really be the ultimate target. This would really be break-even point if we can go ahead and get sells. But if we were to get buys in the situation, I would love to see price go ahead and break above here, because then this would be a liquidity grab. If we just break back above, maintain support, and then we got clean back buys back to at minimum 1.28. 128. So that's my outlook with GU. That's what I'm looking at with GJ and US30. If you guys have any questions, obviously, please just send me a message in the chat and I'll get back to you as soon as possible.